somewhere beyond the known stars, from the frequency where questions become music. Prepare yourselves for the host of this transmission, the cosmic band leader, the dangerous question asker, Mexico Johnson.
All right, y'all. We back up in this thing again. Yes, sir. Let's agree to disagree tonight. Live on your YouTube, TikTok, and your Kick, wherever you decide to find me at. Make sure we got everything loaded up and ready to go there, and we're going to get things rolling here in just a second. Feeling here. Looks like we got somebody on each one of the platforms here. That's what's up. Everything looks like it's connected and ready to go. I'm gonna drop a code in the chat here real quick. You might need that for later. All right. What's up? It's your boy Mexico Johnson. We here ready to do the thing. If we about to get into it, then wow. Episode 19. We passed the halfway mark in our 36 episode season. Here at 19, that means we've completed 18 episodes and we got 18 more to go. I do think we've come a long way in the first 18 episodes. It's going to be very interesting to see what the next 18 becomes. Thank you to all the viewers, everybody who's helped contribute so far. And yeah, we're going to make it happen. So last week, we asked whether artificial intelligence is conscious, simulated, or awakened. And by the end of that question, the machine was no longer the only thing under examination. Because whether AI is truly conscious or not, humanity has already created something that speaks back, something that reflects us, something that imitates the mind closely enough to disturb the old categories. But tonight, I want to ask the question hiding underneath that one. If machines can imitate our creativity, perform our labor, and reflect our contradictions back to us, then what do we still believe makes a human being valuable? Because maybe the crisis is not simply that humans are becoming replaceable. Maybe the crisis is that our old measurements of human value are breaking. A painting does not change, but the label changes what people see. A robot steps into the production line, and suddenly we have to ask whether the worker was ever valued as a person or only of useful motion. Public identity conflict erupts, and we are reminded that some people still rank humanity through fear, dominance, and hierarchy. So tonight, travelers, we are not just asking whether humans can be replaced. We are asking something more uncomfortable. What happens when human value is still there, but we no longer know how to recognize it? So, to get into our actual question for the week here, I added the question card to the intro slide just so you could see coming into the room what the question was. And if we bring it up here now, our main question for the week, human value. Is it recognizable? Or replaceable or unrecognizable? So, again, Greetings to all the travelers coming through. I am Mexico Johnson, aka Mexico, coast to coast, your signal architect for the evening, here broadcasting vibrations from the New Organized World. And you are watching Let's Agree to Disagree tonight. Tonight's signal is tuned to a question that sits underneath art, labor, identity, technology, and the future of being human. We're talking, again, human value. Is that replaceable, or is it becoming unrecognizable? Now, this is not a simple episode about robots taking jobs, and it's not just another episode about AI art making people mad on the internet. Those are just symptoms. The deeper question is, what happens when the systems around us start breaking the old mirrors we use to recognize human worth? If people are told a real masterpiece is AI and suddenly they can see only cheapness, emptiness, and soulless imitation, what are they judging? The image or the label? If a humanoid robot can work through the night on a production line, never asking for rest, never needing dignity, never wondering if the work means anything, what exactly was society valuing in the human worker? The person or the output? And when identity becomes a battlefield, when people place themselves and others inside hierarchies of worth, purity, guilt, dominance, or repair, then the value question becomes even older than technology. Who gets to be a full human? Who gets to be treated as conditional? Who gets the benefit of complexity? Because the machine may not be stealing human value. The machine may be exposing how shallow our definitions already were. If human worth only survives when we are productive, or only survives when we are original, or useful, or dominant and efficient, then maybe the future is not making us worthless. Maybe the future is revealing that we were measuring the wrong thing. So tonight, travelers, we enter the value crisis. Not just the fear that humans can be replaced, but the deeper fear that human value may still be present, and we may no longer recognize when it appears. So, the first thing that made me want to go down this path this week, we can get ready to bring in the TV here. Let's get ready to bring in the TV here. So, I thought this was very interesting. This made me think back to a previous episode we had. If I go check really quick, there's an interesting episode we had a few weeks back, episode 13, the episode questioning what an AI sees when it sees reality, because that was the week Drewski dropped that skit about Erica Kirk, and then the AI was convinced enough that it was looking at an actual image of Erica Kirk and not just Drewski impersonating her. That was pretty funny when that happened. This week here, we're kind of looking at the reverse of that. We're looking at what happens when humans misjudge what they are looking at. What happened here? There is this tweet. This guy says, I just generated an image in the style of a Monet painting using AI. And he's asking people here, please describe in as much detail as possible what makes this inferior to a real Monet painting. And if we look at this painting here, I don't know. I mean, it's a cool painting. I'm not an expert in Monet paintings or even like this style of painting or this era of painting. I'm not an expert in any of those things, but I mean, just to look at it, it's a cool painting. That's nothing that would trigger me or make me upset to look at. But then to tell people that this is AI generated, that puts it in a different category in their brain. And then if you look in the comments below here, people start giving all kinds of crazy answers, describing how this AI generated image is so inferior to what a human would actually make. But in reality, this is actually a real Monet painting. And he just put that caption there to see what people would say in reaction to the idea that it was AI generated. And this here is like a snapshot of a bunch of like the bigger, more popular comments. If we zoom in here, just some of these are interesting. Like some of these people were so convinced that it was an AI painting and that it was inferior to a real Monet. This guy says, it is Monet-ish, yes, and certainly pretty, but at the risk of sounding pretentious, it, in my opinion, would not hold up next to the real thing seen face to face in a museum. Like, what are you saying that based off of what? Like, we are in reality talking about an actual Monet painting. This is just what people thought were something that people thought was an AI generated image. Here's Amber says, at Miss Robinson says, the colors are more pleasing to the eye. The brush strokes are more delicate. The water looks more transparent. Another one says, it looks like high school level art 101 work, but not even. No cohesion of elements. This person says, this is Joseph Belofato. Look at a Monet and what does it say? Quotation marks. Beauty, tranquility, unsullied nature. Look at the AI image. Does it say the same? There is no tranquility. The water seems like it's on fire with greenish flames. It's busy, artificial, nature in turmoil, polluted. One could get lost in the atmosphere of a Monet. On the other hand, one wants to jump from the water and get far away from the place the AI crafted. Again, people making all of these comments about what is in reality an actual Monet painting. And just as much as I did in episode 13, where I questioned the AI's ability to actually recognize reality for what it is, because it had misjudged the Drewski skit for an actual Erica Kirk video. That was a week where we kind of like criticized the AI for getting that wrong. What does this say about us? I don't think we know better. I think we might even be worse than the AI if we kind of put this into context. This follow-up tweet here is funny because then again, here's the real actual Monet image. Can I zoom in on this? Let me bring this up close for the folks. This is the actual Monet painting here. And then in the follow-up post, this guy actually took all of the comments that everyone had posted, all of the critiques everyone had offered, and then he actually generated an AI image. So this one here is the actual AI image that had been pieced together based off of all of the critiques that people had that they were so sure it was they were talking about an AI image and how much less than AI art was than what an actual artistic genius like Monet would paint. This is funny. Which one looks better? If I was gonna put one on my wall, I don't know. I kind of think the AI one looks better. I mean, the Monet one is cool because it's actually painted by Monet. But I don't know. If I just look at it, I don't know. I kind of like the way this AI one looks more, actually. I might be more inclined to put the AI one on my wall. It's probably cheaper. All right. That was the first story that I found interesting from this past week. There was more. still going down the same train of thought here. I found this to be very interesting. This company called Figure uh, announced this live stream where they have an actual humanoid robot working on this factory line 24/7. This is a fully autonomous robot here doing this production line work. Looks like he right now is just sorting through some packages. Again, this is an actual live feed that I'm showing you here right now. This is a real robot somewhere that's actually doing this work in real life. And this is, again, another thing that makes me think, like, how are we actually determining human value? How do we actually know what a human is worth? Conversations about a minimum wage and conversations about a universal basic income, what do they even really mean anymore? You know, you could pay a human minimum wage to stand on this line and flip these packages around. But then you gotta give humans breaks. You gotta, they need to eat lunch. They gotta go home to their families eventually. This robot don't gotta do none of that stuff. This robot can actually run 24/7 without ever stopping. I mean, if you right now is a Amazon warehouse worker, it's looking kind of spooky. This has been running for a while too. This is actually day 2, so it's already gone a whole 24-hour shift already. This is day 2 of this running live here. It's trying to grab the package there. It seems like it's having some issues reaching that package on the far side there. But I mean, you can see it's dynamically handling packages of all different sizes and shapes, and you could assume different weights. It's having some issues with that package on the far side there. That's interesting. We getting to see a glitch happen live in real time here on the show. This is unscripted. This is, again, happening live in this broadcast. That robot cannot grab that package on the far side there. I wonder what it's going to do about that. Okay, it looks like it finally, some of the other packages finally pushed it through, and it kind of it pushed itself down the line without the robot having to do it. Very interesting, though. Again, what does minimum wage mean if we got robots that can do this? And here we are currently in the middle of May 2026. I mean, we only going to be in the middle of May 2026 for a couple more weeks. It won't be long before this turns into, a few months down the line, a few years down the line. And this technology is only going to get more advanced. These robots are only going to become more capable. The amount of jobs that are going to be impacted by this are only going to increase. This is not something that slows down or reverses or changes course down the line. Interesting. I also saw here on Polymarket, you can actually bet on this. The Figure F03 robot has been running for nearly 24 hours without failure. The odds are the odds are plus 200. Oh, wait, I'm reading this wrong. Hold on. The odds it makes it 200 plus hours are now at 17% and rising. So you can actually bet on how long it's going to take this robot before it fails. Again, it's already gone past 24 hours straight. So, I mean, that alone makes it, I hesitate to say more valuable than a human worker. But again, you can't really expect a human to do that for 24 hours straight. I have one more story in the news from this week that I wanted to get off. I think this is still relevant. I still think this is in line with the conversation about human value. Homeboy been making his rounds on the internet here. They call him Chud the Builder. In this post here, we call him Chudder Bob because apparently he shot himself this past week in an attempt to shoot someone else. He actually ended up shooting himself too. I got a news report here for y'all. We're gonna check this out together. This is posted by the Exposed Racists and Pedos page on X. One of my favorite pages on X because they do a very good job of reporting on this kind of news that doesn't always hit the mainstream, but it's still very important, still very relevant, still things that we want to be aware of. We got this report here on Cheddar Bob. Let's check it out.
Known online as Chud the Builder is facing attempted charges.
Investigators say a fight outside the Montgomery County Courthouse this week led to gunfire. Let's go to News 2's Jaxie Pigeon. She's live in Clarksville. And Jaxie, you have new information following this shooting.
Mark and Nikel, this all unfolded outside the courthouse on Wednesday, and now investigators are working to determine what sparked it. So deputies and Clarksville police responded to Millennium Plaza around 1 o'clock yesterday after reports of shots fired. When they got there, they detained two men who they say had been fighting before things escalated. Both were taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds and are expected to survive. Authorities identified one of the men as 28-year-old Dalton Etherly, who goes by Chud the Builder online. He's known locally for live streaming confrontations and making racist comments in public. He's now charged with criminal attempted murder, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and employing a firearm during a dangerous felony. Etherly remains in the Montgomery County Jail this morning awaiting arraignment where a judge will set bond. In a statement, Montgomery County Sheriff John Fuson says, quote, "It's unfortunate that incidents like this are happening in our community. This kind of violence won't be tolerated, and our office will work to make sure those responsible are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law." And because this investigation is still active, the entire courts complex here in Montgomery County will be closed for today. Live in Clarksville, Jaxie Pigeon, News 2.
So, first the homie got hemmed up. He was arrested in Nashville for theft and disorderly conduct after running his mouth in a restaurant there. Then most recently charged with attempted murder after shooting a black man outside of a courthouse. And this goes on to say this didn't happen overnight. He's been on this path for years with the racism and the rage baiting and the constant need for confrontation. So now he's facing serious prison time. Perfect timing, too, because I had just got to the point where I was getting tired of seeing his antics in my timeline. And I had actually muted his name, so I didn't have to see it no more. But right after doing that, right after muting his name is when all of this stuff dropped about him shooting himself outside the courthouse. So karma comes at you fast. My man, he gonna have to hold that time there on his way into the to serve that jail time now. Sucks to suck. All right, I like this too. I want to connect this idea about Chud the Builder too to this piece that I found here. This called "The 8 White Identities" by Barner Hesse. Barner Hesse identifies the 8 white identities, and he kind of places them on this spectrum here from white supremacists to white abolitionists, all the way on the other side of this scale. And I just want to present this here for consideration, especially some of the white viewers of Let's Agree to Disagree tonight, just for consideration, for reflection here. I'm not telling you where you need to be on this scale of 8 white identities, but as a white person who identifies as white, you should know that such a thing like this exists, and you should be then able to identify yourself and where you sit on this spectrum. I I want to go through the 8 categories here, starting with white supremacists and then blending on down to white abolitionists. And again, just asking the white viewers of Let's Agree to Disagree tonight to consider where you are on this scale, and maybe we'll see what we want to do about this. So white supremacists, we define them as clearly marked white society that preserves names and values white superiority. That preserves names and values white superiority. White supremacists will tell you that they white supremacists. You ain't got to guess. Then there is white voyeurism. These guys wouldn't necessarily challenge a white supremacist desires non-whiteness because they think it's interesting, pleasurable, and they seek to control the consumption and appropriation of non-whiteness. They have a fascination with the culture, like, for example, consuming black culture without the burden of blackness. The next level up from white voyeurism, we have white privilege. This level here, we're going to talk about, you may critique white supremacy from time to time, but a deep investment in questions of fairness, equality, under the normalization of whiteness and white rule. Or excuse me, I'm reading this wrong. They may critique white supremacy, but they still hold a deep investment in questions of fairness or equality under the normalization of whiteness and white rule. They have a sworn goal of diversity, but they still uphold white privilege. Then the next level up, they got white benefit. Here, with white benefit, that makes you sympathetic to a set of issues, but only privately. You won't speak or act in solidarity publicly because benefiting through whiteness in public. Hold on. They won't speak or act in solidarity publicly because they are still benefiting through whiteness in public. I see. Okay, these are kind of worded funny, but we're getting to it. There are some people of color in this category as well. I'm glad that this mentions that because there are, again, like when you talk about people who want to be white adjacent or, accepted in white society, you'll see a lot of those people then take on again, these white supremacist adjacent characteristics. I like that this list mentions that specifically. Going up from white benefit, there's the white confessional. So now this is where it starts to get juicy. We are firmly on the other side of the scale now, where we start heading towards white abolitionists. There is some exposure of whiteness that takes place here at this level, but as a way of being accountable to people of color after, they seek validation from people of color. Some exposure of whiteness takes place. So at the white confessional level, they are willing to expose whiteness on some level, but only as a way of being accountable to people of color. They are seeking validation from people of color. They aren't really seeking to dismantle white supremacy or hold white people accountable as much as they are just trying to manufacture their own level of accountability to people of color. And we'll keep going here. Next level up. After your white confessionals, we got the white criticals. So at this level, we take on board critiques of whiteness and invest in exposing / marking the white regime. The white critical refuses to be complicit with the regime. The white critical is whiteness speaking back to whiteness. This is a interesting level here where you actually start to see not white people just questioning whiteness, but white people taking their level of white privilege and power that they have within them to then use that to speak back to and look eye to eye with whiteness, and again start to really question it at this level. Again, starting to refuse to be complicit and taking on board critiques of whiteness. Interesting. Next up from the right, critical, there is the white traitor. And that one sounds like that's probably the worst one, but there is still one more level after white traitor. So here we are at white traitor. White traitors actively refuse complicity. White traitors name what's going on, and their intention then is to subvert white authority and tell the truth at whatever cost. They have a need to dismantle institutions. The white traitor refuses complicity. Names what's going on. Intention to subvert white authority and tell the truth at whatever cost. And then, like, that sounds pretty radical for white people, but there is still one more level beyond that. If we keep going, there is the white abolitionist, which I think there should definitely be more white people in 2026 and beyond aspiring to be. The white abolitionist is all about changing institutions, dismantling whiteness, and not allowing whiteness to reassert itself. Presenting this in contrast with the homie Chud the Builder, who's been publicly, walking around racially antagonizing people in a white supremacist fashion in a way that is, only entertaining to a very small group of people online, but everybody else can see what he's doing, and we can see like it was never gonna last long. And it's a funny twist of fate that it actually ends with him shooting himself and him sending himself to jail for petty crime and theft and for chimping out. Chud the Builder is in jail right now because he was chimping out. He couldn't help himself, y'all. Wouldn't you know it? What you think about that, Cosmo?
Style not found.
Yeah, Chud ain't got no style. So, I presented a lot of angles of this broad question tonight. Interesting to bring it back home, though. We're talking about human value. Is that becoming replaceable? Or excuse me, I'm sorry. Is it becoming replaceable or is it becoming unrecognizable? For those just entering the signal, tonight's question is, we're looking at AI art, robot labor, and identity conflict to ask whether human value is disappearing or whether our old ways of recognizing it are breaking down. I do think on the other side of 2026 here and beyond, I do think we are going to have to figure out some new terms and definitions for recognizing and measuring human value. The ways we used to measure value are changing so quickly. People losing their jobs. And with this age of automation coming in, people are not just losing their jobs, but humans in general just losing their ability to create value the way they used to. You used to be able to go get a factory job and stand on the line and flip some packages around for 8 hours a day and take home a decent check, But, now we are firmly living in the days where, if I could pull it up one more time, where's that live stream go? Hold on, I got it here. I mean, in real life, in real time right now, I'm not exaggerating. We are living in the times right now where you can get a robot to stand there on that production line and flip them packages around now. And the robot can do it for 24 hours straight. So again, that human idea of humans being valuable because of the work that they do. Well, what happens when there's no more work to be done because it's all been automated away? And whether, this level of automation takes another year or another 5, 10, 15, 20 years, like that's not that far away. And I mean, you might still be able to live your life as it is right now for a little while longer, but this change is on the horizon, and waiting to handle it later, that's one way to handle it, I guess. Maybe I would argue that's probably not the smartest way to handle it, but if that's the way you want to handle it, you are welcome to do so. All right. We are going to go ahead and take a quick little commercial break here, and then we can get into our resonance report for this week. All right, y'all. Be right back.
In an increasingly complex world, people are finding new ways to stay balanced. Personal cloud is now part of the environment. Available everywhere, the future is already happening.
Personal Cloud helps you retrieve what matters. For access, contact your IT department. Availability subject to reality.
The trash tape. Tremendous resilience affects stupid humans.
What kind of name is that? Doesn't matter.
You seen this?
I'm trying not to.
The trash tape. Available in dumpsters everywhere. Trash tape. Tremendous resilience affects stupid humans.
What kind of name is that? Doesn't matter.
You seen this?
I'm trying not to.
The trash tape. Available in dumpsters everywhere.
Welcome back to Let's Agree to Disagree tonight. Signal is locked. Let's continue.
All right. It is that time. Let's go ahead and do it. We call this one the Resonance Report. All right. Let's get into it. This is the Resonance Report, your weekly briefing on the tools, tremors, and tectonic shifts moving through the AI age. First up, Washington and Beijing are now talking AI guardrails. Reuters reports U.S. and Chinese delegations are discussing protocols to keep the most powerful models away from non-state bad actors. Translation: the AI race has entered the even rivals need emergency brakes phase. Next up, story number 2. Google wants Android to become an intelligent system. Gemini intelligence is being built into Android to handle multi-step tasks, summarize the web, fill forms, polish speech, and generate widgets from natural language. The phone is no longer just a screen in your hand. It is applying for the role of a tiny pocket chief of staff. Next up, Notion is turning the workspace into an agent terminal. Its new developer platform brings external agents like Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, and Decagon into shared team context with workers, permissions, and hosted workflows. The Office whiteboard is becoming a dispatch board for non-human collaborators. Next story. SAP is pitching the autonomous enterprise. At Sapphire, SAP tied business AI, knowledge graphs, agents, governance, and partners like Anthropic, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and more into one enterprise operating layer. Corporate AI is moving from ask a chatbot to let govern agents touch the machinery. Story number 5. Microsoft says its M- agent swarm found real Windows flaws. The company says a 100 plus agent security harness helped identify 16 Windows networking and authentication vulnerabilities, including critical remote code execution bugs. Cyber defense is becoming less like one expert with a flashlight and more like a coordinated search party with receipts. Next story. Cisco is cutting jobs while chasing AI infrastructure demand. Reuters reports Cisco plans to cut about 4,000 jobs while raising expectations for AI infrastructure orders from hyperscalers. That is the labor paradox in one headline. The build-out creates a new demand while reorganizing the humans around it. Story number 7. AI biology is forcing a harder biosecurity conversation. Nature's new look at AI-designed viruses, toxins, and biological misuse lands right as AI drug discovery attracts huge capital. The same map that points towards cures can also point toward danger if institutions move slower than capability. And our last story. xAI's Colossus 2 shows the physical cost of the cloud. Wired reports xAI added 19 gas turbines at its Mississippi data center site amid a Clean Air Act lawsuit. The myth of weightless intelligence keeps running into permits, power, air, water, and neighborhoods. So, where are we now? We are in the phase where AI stops looking like software and starts looking like infrastructure. Diplomatic infrastructure, workplace infrastructure, security, creative, biological, and energy infrastructure. The question is no longer just what can the model do? It is who gets to authorize it and who pays the hidden costs, who gets displaced and who gets protected, and who can still tell what is real. Why this matters? This is exactly the room Let's Agree to Disagree Tonight is built for. Not agreement, not panic, not worship, but orientation. These stories all point to the same deeper pressure. Human beings are being asked to make conscious decisions inside systems that are getting faster, more automated, more persuasive, and more physical. Step into the signal behind the noise. Watch next. Watch the approval layers. If AI agents are entering phones, workplaces, and security systems, the next real fight is over checkpoints, where humans can see, pause, edit, refuse, or repair the machines before the machine quietly becomes the room. This has been this week's edition of The Resonance Report. All right, well, it's been an interesting one. Again, episode 19, marking us officially passing the halfway point in season 2 of Let's Agree to Disagree Tonight. Season 1 was, all of our original Sora clips and stuff that we had back in the day. Now we're on season 2. Here with the actual live show implementation. I wonder what we're going to do for season 3 still. I'm still thinking I want to figure out how we could do something cool to take season 3 up a notch from this even. It's not too early to start asking that question. Season 3 will be here before you know it. One more time, I want to invite the folks to check out the bridge, where you will find our signal list. If I pull up the link here, again, that is at subscribepage.io/thebridge. And make sure you spell the bridge with a capital T. I actually found out this past week when you go to subscribepage.io/thebridge with a lowercase t, it takes you to a different website about some like African American cuisine stuff. I don't know. That ain't my page. To get mine specifically, you want to make sure you put a capital T in there, or you could just click the link in the description. I'll also drop the link in the comments for y'all. And you're going to go to check out the bridge here. I'm going to pull up the TV so I can show y'all one more time here. You want to go to the bridge because this is where you are going to first find all my socials. Hold on, let me fix this screen here. This is where you find all the socials. YouTube, TikTok, IG, X, all the interesting things going on all the interesting platforms. And here's where I will invite you to enter the system where the signal continues. You can submit your email here and join now, the New Organized World. Again, if you enjoy what we do here or appreciate the vision going forward and want to be a part of helping create the next version of this thing, you can join the system here. We had 6 on the list last week. We're up to 8 this week. I'm glad to say that we having a couple of people click and want to join there. So this thing is growing, and we're gonna get some like the first offer out to the supporters here soon. Or I just realized we got to come up with like a good name for like this like group. Like if once you join the signal list and you are a supporter, like what do we call you? What's the name for our group? Like like Beyonce got the Beehive or whatever. What we gonna call our group? I don't know. We're gonna think about that for next week. If you got some good suggestions, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section below. One more time, after you join the signal list, then I want you to come on down and try out my game I made here. This is called Signal Runner, presented to you by Resophonic Games. If I reload the page here, you can see the little intro bumper. Resophonic Games presents Signal Runner. Also, I want to add here, if you like to try the game again, this time with Bluetooth controls, you can add any Bluetooth controller and play the game now. The game will recognize your Bluetooth controller. When I was play testing this with a couple of my brothers, a couple of my friends, that did come up a few times. People were using like the touchscreen controls, and you can also use a keyboard to control it. But after messing around with the touchscreen controls, there were a couple people who asked me like, "Can I just connect my Bluetooth controller?" So yes, we added Bluetooth controller support to Signal Runner. Go ahead and check it out. One more time here. Let's take a quick look at the leaderboard. Who's on top of the leaderboard right now? RAE with 22,000. Wow. That's my boy Roski. Shout out to the boy Ross. Got that top score. I'm going to still try to take you down there. But I appreciate you for taking the time to play the game and put up a decent score there. That's what's up. I'm still trying to see if we can get some more people up on the leaderboard. And then there you can see what was last week's episode. After this episode goes live, I'll update the page with this current episode so that, that's always up to date. But Again, it's just a simple little page where you can connect with me, find all my socials, join my email list, play my little game that I made, and be ready for what's coming next. Cause I'm building. I still got a lot of ideas that I'm trying to get out and get focused into the system right now. Still building out. Still working with my AI agent. We just upgraded CC again last week. The upgrade to CC now. CC is plugged into my YouTube. So now CC can help with scheduling videos, and still not allowed to post videos without my permission, but it can like cue the video and like get the description and the title and everything, the thumbnail ready. And then all I got to do is come back and approve it later. Interesting. Like I got some of these videos now with these new thumbnails here. Adding some visual interest to the channel. Shout out to Cece, doing some new work. We still growing, still evolving the system, still figuring out how I can push Cece to do bigger and better things here. How I can still push Mexico Johnson to do bigger and better things here. It's all a group effort that we're working on right now. All right. I did enough yapping. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close this thing down for the week. So, where'd my joint go? Sorry, here we go. All right. So, tonight we asked whether human value is becoming replaceable or simply harder to recognize. And maybe the answer is uncomfortable. Because if human value was only protected by labor, then the robot was always coming. And if human value was only protected by originality, then the imitation was always going to disturb us. If human value was only protected by status, category, hierarchy, or belonging to the approved group, then we were never really protecting humanity. We were protecting a ranking system. That is the part that the future keeps exposing. The painting did not lose beauty because someone mislabeled it. The worker did not lose dignity because a machine can repeat the same motion the workers do. And a person does not become more or less human because an ideology knows where to place them. Human value has to live deeper than usefulness. It's deeper than productivity, deeper than whether the market, the platform, the institution, or the crowd knows what to do with you. Because the future may replace tasks, it may replace tasks, it may imitate styles, it may automate motions, but it cannot decide for us what a human being is worth. That responsibility is still ours. And if we fail at that, the danger is not that machines will become too human. The danger is that humans will accept the definition of themselves too small to survive the future. That's all we have time for tonight. The future is complicated and the signal is noisy. And none of us are fully optimized yet. But I'm Mexico Johnson, and this has been Let's Agree to Disagree Tonight.
it or not, are controlled by nature. If you put a tight shoe on your foot, you get a corn. If you wear the shoe long enough, it turns controlled by nature. If you put a tight shoe on your foot, you get a corn. If you wear the shoe long enough, it turns into a callus. If you wear the shoe long enough, it turns into a bunion. Eventually, it'll wear the shoe out. Black folks in America got a callus around their soul. And if this system don't back up their shoe, it's going to be wore out. Because when you get 9 months pregnant, nature don't care if you married or not, because that's not one of her laws to get pregnant. She don't care if you have Blue Cross, Blue Shield. Nature's law is when you are 9 months pregnant, she's going to drop this baby if it means death to the mother and the child. America's racial pregnancy is about 9 months pregnant. And if you understand the theory of nature, which I live by, you would find out that a system where the slave controls the communications, the money, the law, and the free man has nothing is headed for complete chaos. And I say that to say this. A free man is a man with no fears. And when white folks fear me marrying their daughter, eating in their restaurants, going to their schools, living in their neighborhood, he is my slave by the laws of nature, whether he like it or not. People rather